Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
I would just say I'm confident in our football team. I think we've had a really good camp. I think we've executed at a high level, really in all three phases throughout training camp. And so I feel confident in what this team's able to do.
It's game week, y'all. Saints, Titans from the Dome on Sunday. They'll get this party started. The GOAT, Saints, former Saints running back Deuce McAllister. Of course, you'll hear him on the radio broadcast, part of the Saints Radio Network. Good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. Deuce, it's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, sir?
Been doing awesome. Hey, I'd love to start by getting a thought on the schedule change. Now with 17 games and having that sort of this weekend off and sort of a delay from the end of the third preseason game before the roster cuts and everything. Just on how the schedule plays out now leading up to week one.
Well, it's a break, and so it's almost like a mini break when you have that little quirk or the adjustment that they've made from obviously adding that extra game, and so it's always intriguing the moves, the other roster moves that teams can make, and so that's why it's always interesting when guys appear to have made the initial roster, the 53-man roster, but then there's so much time that there's some shuffling that goes on, and even when you look at it from now until the actual game, there will still be more roster shuffling that will go about.
Where's the spots on the roster where you think there might still be moves made?
One, you never want anything, but injuries could always play a part of it. I think also when you look at it, maybe you're a little light at the linebacker position. Maybe it's and with COVID, you did have the ability. A couple things happen when it relates to football. You're able to expand the practice squad, and then you have the ability to be able to call up a couple of guys as far as that is concerned, and so those are some things that they did continue to keep, even though you aren't dealing with that the pandemic. So for me, you're always probably going to look at linebacker is one spot, and then from a safety standpoint, cornerback, defensive back. Do you add somebody there, or do you go with extra body via the defensive line?
Deuce McAllister is with us on Twitter at DMcAllister26. Deuce, I want to talk about your old spot there, running back. Of course, no Alvin Kamara weeks 1 through 3, and we don't have an update yet on Kendre Miller and his status. If we presume Miller isn't available or is limited, and then there's no Alvin Kamara, how do you feel about that running back room going into week 1?
Well, that's another spot that, I wasn't going to count him out yet. I was going to try to let him at least get through practice if he was available to practice. But that would be another spot that you're going to have to probably add somebody there. Here's the thing. When you look at Tennessee overall, their defense was going to be tough to run against, even with Alvin. And then to say you were going to put that pressure on a rookie, that was going to be tough. And so for the Saints, they will have to grind out some yardage. But, you're going to be able to basically make your hay throwing the football. You've got to be able to do it. And now that comes into question, can you protect the quarterback?
I'll come to the offensive line in a second, but one more. When would you say, when throughout the course of a game week, would you say you have to feel healthy as a running back, right, and ready to go? Speaking from Kendre Miller here, when would be enough time for him to be able to play on Sunday and he would know he felt good?
Well, really, if he was a veteran, then I would say by Friday. But with him being a rookie and him missing so much time, to be honest, if he's not ready to go on Wednesday, really, honestly, then how can you feel confident with him being able to go out there and get reps or, because he's missing reps.
Yeah.
You're talking about an individual that didn't do anything for you this spring, and then he's missed a little time as far as during camp. That's a lot. And so for me as a coach, I would want to see it on Wednesday. And if I can't see it on Wednesday, then I'm not saying, hey, look, he's not available. You know that his play will be small anyway just because he's a rookie. But, I'm probably leaning on some of the other guys that I know that are going to be available.
Deuce McAllister is with us. You mentioned the offensive line, Deuce, as well. Look, we know the challenge. I mean, Tennessee led the NFL in rush defense a year ago. I would love a thought on how you think this unit shapes up now with Trevor Penning as the left tackle and how it's all going to shape up coming out of camp here.
Well, I think that you have a physical group. I mean, I think that they're a physical group. You don't have as much experience or depth as you would like. I mean, but that's really any NFL team. It's just hard to develop offensive linemen. And so for the Saints, what they've got to be able to do is, one, you've got to be able to stay healthy. You've got to be able to be on the same page because there are going to be some matchups that they have to face when you talk about Simmons, Landry, and just some of the guys that they have. There are going to be some matchups that probably aren't favorable for the Saints. And so the question becomes, who do they leave in one-on-one situations? Who can I help? And then the Titans, they're going to be able to say, hey, look, this guy's getting double teamed. You can't double every guy. So some guys are going to have to win some one-on-ones. And, I'm interested and intrigued to see if they can be able to win those one-on-ones because that's what this game is going to come down to. Can you hold up front against a very, very good front seven Tennessee Titans defense?
Deuce, last week, the other position you mentioned was linebacker. Last week we talked to your former teammate Scott Shanley, and I asked him about Jalen Smith. And I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially he sort of questioned whether or not Jalen could be a three-down linebacker still at this point in the NFL. I'm curious what you saw there with Jalen in training camp and in the preseason, and if you feel like the Saints right there are settled right now with the group that they have.
Thing, you don't have to be a three-down back. I mean, you're not looking for a three-down linebacker out of Jalen just because the Saints don't play a ton of 4-3 defense. Now, this may be a game where they do play heavy 4-3 defense, and you may see Jalen be one of the guys that is called up from the practice squad. But at this point in how they play defense, you really don't use or you wouldn't use him in that manner unless, DeMario is hurt or Pete Werner is hurt, and then you would be at step into that role as far as being one of your every down kind of linebacker. And so as a player, he's played a ton in the NFL, and I think that he can help, this Saints defense. But I don't know if you need him to be that starter or even the player that he was 3-4 years ago, when he was with the Cowboys.
Always great perspective. Last thing for you, Deuce, your time very much appreciated. You're a guy who wore the captaincy. We saw Derek Carr is going to be one of the team's 7 captains this year. If I could, just a thought on what you've seen as a veteran guy, seeing Derek Carr sort of assimilate to this team within training camp in the preseason as they sort of push off from the dock here week 1. Just your thoughts on what you've seen from Derek Carr.
He's been an outstanding leader. He's done everything that any coach, any staff would have wanted him to do as far as taking over that leadership role. And then, it just can't be words. You have to have some actions, to really get guys to follow you. And that's what he's been able to do. And so, there are no steps that you can walk through that makes you like Drew Brees. Don't try to go out there and be Drew Brees. Go be Derek Carr. That's all we ask for you. It's not going to be perfect, but, own it. Manage your show. This is your show. This is your operation, and go own it. I mean, just go be yourself.
He is the great Deuce McAllister. He's on Twitter at DMcAllister26. Y'all give him a follow, of course. He'll be on the broadcast Sunday. Member of the Saints Radio Network as the Saints and the Titans get things kicked off. Deuce, it's always a pleasure, man. Can't thank you enough for a couple of minutes as always.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.